Welcome back to the Shepherd's Pie, a slice of faith for our messy lives. I'm Tony Kolenc, a law professor at Ave Maria School of Law, and also the author of inspirational fiction for teens and adults. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about the gift of giving as we head towards the holidays. And so that reminds me also, if you are looking for gifts for your teens, come to my website and check out some of my novels that are out there for middle grade teens and adults. But today we'll be hearing from Sheila Cronin about her Christmas novel, The Gift Counselor. And we'll be talking with Sheila about giving and what a difference it can make in our lives. My guest today is Sheila Cronin. Sheila is an award-winning author of a novel endorsed by Publishers Weekly Indie Spotlight, and it's called The Gift Counselor. Sheila is a graduate of St. Mary's College in Notre Dame. She's also been a painter and has practiced psychiatric art therapy for many years. As an author, her stories have appeared in many different journals, including Woman's World, Good Old Days Magazine, Ligurian, Guideposts, and a lot more. Sheila lives in Chicago. And Sheila, it is so nice to have you on the Shepherd's Pie today.
Thank you very much, Tony. I'm glad to be here.
So you have written a lot of stories, it looks like, and have had a lot of great placements. Why don't you talk a little bit about your background and how you got into writing?
I was raised by a woman who was a writer when she came into our lives. My mother died when I was 5, and she had written many things before she married my father. Over the years, I watched her techniques, I watched the time it took, I watched how difficult it was for her to find the time. I guess I tucked those away. And so later on in life, I became an art therapist. I went to graduate school at Hahnemann in Philadelphia and got my degree in mental health sciences. And when we started the program, we were told, as a consequence of learning the psychiatry about expression, our own art would go away. And it did. So for many of us, we stopped painting. And I kept trying to get it back. And so I turned to writing because, as you probably know, if you are creative, it's not just one avenue often, it's several avenues. And I had written when I was in school, I had written plays and skits, but now I tried more serious things like stories. The book itself came as a result after I tried writing the story as a screenplay. And I was in Los Angeles, living in Los Angeles. One of my fellow writers said, "You know what you should do? You should turn that into a novel. Because if you kept it as a screenplay and you sold it, chances are they would change everything. You would lose control of your character, your story, your plot, your themes. But if you write a book, nobody can touch your characters, your story." And that made a lot of sense to me. That's how I got the idea.
Wow, yeah, that's fascinating actually. Tell me a little bit about the kinds of stories that you've gotten published in all these different magazines and journals, and how did that lead you to want to write more of a Christmas themed kind of a novel?
I grew up a storyteller, Tony. In fact, friends of mine told me that. I also grew up in a family of 10 children, and you often had to make up stories to entertain your little troops. So, storytelling was part of our family life. My father was a great storyteller. But what happened was there came a Christmas when I was in LA when I was out of a job and I was feeling pretty down. And I went down to a shopping mall when I came upon a scene. A man rushed up to the perfume counter and said, "I need a gift to fix a problem." And he sounded very anxious. You would pay attention if you heard the tone. And so I watched what was going on, and the woman behind the counter said, "Well, was she your wife, your girlfriend? Give me a little bit more." And, "No, it's my girl. I hope she's my girl, but we had a fight and I've got to fix it. What can I do?" And he was touching the perfume and she put her hand on his and said, "No, this will never do. You need to go to jewelry. You need to buy her something that will make her cry. Then she'll be your girl again." And Tony, I stood there in shock because I had just been given the gift of a story, a big story. And I got on the bus, took an hour to get from the beach back to my house. By the time I stepped off the bus, I realized, oh, the story's not the man. The story's the woman behind the counter. She doesn't belong there. She's a psychologist, and she's just doing this temporary job. And she's handling people all kinds of differently ways than a regular clerk. And he flies off, with big smiles like he's got the solution to his problem. And I'm thinking, she's a counselor, she's a gift counselor, but she has a son. She's a widow. She has a son who's 10 years old. He wants a dog. She won't let him have it. And I got that from leaving the scene to getting home. I had that much of the story.
Yeah, you got more than you bargained for going to the store that day. You got
I did.
a gift that you never intended to buy.
Yes.
All right. So you basically have already told us the premise of the story then, and it seems to revolve not just around gifts, but how gifts can be something that give healing to our lives in some way.
Yes.
So maybe if you would talk a little bit about kind of what your experience has been with gifts and why you think that's an important theme for us in our lives.
Well, I did a lot of research as I began to write the story and talk to people about gifts they had received and gifts they had given. And I began to see there's a lot of bad feelings around both. So the counselor idea was to help people get over their issues with either giving or receiving. Now, with the giving side, there is a simple solution, and that is to come right out and ask somebody, what would you like for Christmas? If you don't like the idea of me knowing and you like surprises, give me three choices and I'll still surprise you. There is no shame in asking, but especially women, they like to appear coy. Oh, he should know me well enough. I shouldn't have to tell him. But that is not true. A man does not read a woman's mind. The best you can do in any relationship is carry a little pad around with you or use your phone. And when you see them saying, gee, I wish I had one of those, or gee, I like that color, or you can make a note of it. Next Christmas, I'll pick her up some of these. The issues around receiving are different, and they have a lot more to do with embarrassment. Believe it or not, there are some people who are shy. I'm not one of them. But I appreciate that it's a painful feeling for people. And so if you're going to give them gifts at a big party in front of everyone, they may get all red-faced and upset. The situation there is for the person receiving who's uncomfortable, is to have a plan. And the plan, keep it simple. Just put a smile on your face and say thank you. You don't have to have an elaborate reaction, and you don't have to mean it exactly, but you do have to mean that you appreciate that they thought of you.
All right. So in your story, the gift counselor essentially is advising people on their life's issues through the use of gifts. And I'm assuming, as an author myself, knowing that you have to pull this through an entire plot, that takes a lot to pull something like that together. So I don't know, can you share some of the anecdotes through the story of how gifts are able to bring healing? And are
Yes,
any of those based on like real life experiences that you've had?
sure. I saw something today on social media that just popped right out at me. It was a box with a question in it. He said, if your $900 ring came from Walmart, would that affect your answer? Now, I have a situation in my book. I have a situation where a friend buys her best friend a scarf, a lovely scarf. But then when the friend opens up the package and notices the label, the scarf is from Pick and Save. And she's offended. She takes offended that her friend bought her a gift from Pick and Save. And she's in a session with the gift counselor who says, the color you said is perfect for you. The scarf is ideal. Don't you see that your friend put that as more important than where it came from? She put you and what you need before where it came from. She might have gone to another store and never found the perfect fit for you. So it's things like that to turn giving inside out. It's about not having an agenda. A lot of gifts are about manipulation, but that's not really a true gift. I happen to think there's a hierarchy in gift giving, and the highest gifts involve sacrifice. And the lowest kind of gift, just to show the difference, is a gag gift because there's something mean in it. It's not a nice gift. And it can lead to a revenge gift. And then those get dark. Those get very dark. So I did have a number of examples in the book. Plus, she falls in love again, and that's another part of the story. Plus, she has a son who wants something she won't give him. The man who comes into their life has to uncover what's going on between mother and son. She's a gift counselor, except she's withholding from her son. And what he discovers is that something very bad happened in her first marriage. Her husband and his dog and their dog were caught in a house fire. The husband got out, but then he remembered the dog and went back in. And she never saw either one again. So when her son says, I want a dog, Mom. No. And she lies. She says, I'm allergic to dogs. But the man helps her to see that her husband loved her. He didn't want to go in the house and get hurt. He thought he could do it all. And so there's a lot of counseling all through the book, but it's more people really listening to somebody. And that's a great gift to really listen to somebody.
That's beautiful. Yeah, the idea that this gift actually can bring her personal healing from this trauma goes right in with the rest of the theme. Now, what about folks who might think about gifts, and especially in this context of healing problems or healing relationships, and say something along the lines of, oh, well, you really shouldn't use worldly goods or, bribes to try to fix your problems. That giving this whole idea of giving gifts for that reason is somehow an inferior or not a great thing. What are your thoughts on that? Folks who are a little bit more high-minded who might view the giving of gifts as much too physical or worldly thing to
I
really
see.
heal a relationship.
God gives us gifts all day long, and they're tangible. There's the sun in the sky, right? There's the rain for your flowers. I have this funny little thing. I haven't told many people this, and I don't know how you'll take it, but I'll often go into a store wanting an item, let's say a can of soup, a special kind like chicken noodle soup, and there's one can on the shelf. This happens to me all the time where I'll go after something, there's one left, and I just smile and thank you, God, you put it there for me. So I think that that's not the focus. God is very generous and big and huge in his gifts. It's a dodge. I think that thinking is a dodge from getting really into what giving is about. It's giving yourself. It's giving some part of yourself. People hold on to themselves. They have to watch that.
Great answer. So I know you, before we got on, mentioned that you kind of had a personal experience, and you mentioned how, gifts are a matter of sacrifice sometimes. Sometimes things that might not seem like good things in our lives tend to sometimes bring
Yes.
us some of the greatest gifts. So do you want to share anything that in your own experience where that's happened?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought it up. Thank you very much. What happened was 2 years ago, on a regular mammogram, they discovered cancer. And I'll tell you, I was not happy at all. I thought that was over with. There's cancer throughout my family, Tony, but I got into my 70s thinking, well, not me. I'm home free now. And then this pops up, and I was really shocked. Fortunately, they caught it early, had the treatment, but it takes something out of you, and it takes a while to get back. Meanwhile, at the same time, I had been wanting to paint. I was desperate to paint again. And I didn't want to paint at home. I'm used to a studio, I'm used to people around. I need some outside stimulation to get it going. So, anyway, I joined a wonderful group called Gilda's Club. It was started by friends of the entertainer Gilda Radner. After she died, they came together, her husband and some friends, to start a club for support for people undergoing cancer treatment and their families. And it's very big in Chicago. So fortunately, I began to attend meetings. Well, some time went by. And then one day this spring, I woke up one morning, I said, I want to paint. That's it. I want to paint. Now, how am I going to get it done? And then I thought, or the Holy Spirit sent me a message saying, Gilda might have something. So I looked at the Gilda calendar, watercolor painting, Northwestern Hospital, Wednesday morning every week. I said, you got to be kidding. Right in the cancer center, I walked in and I'm painting now. I'm painting again. It's one of the greatest gifts God has given me in my life is to bring back painting.
That's beautiful. That's such almost a bookend to where you started with the story of you went into the field of art therapy and it
Yeah.
took painting away from you. And actually, I guess, why is that? Did you figure out why is it that art therapists are going to lose the ability to be creative with their own art?
Well, in our program, which was the best program, I think, at the time, you learn to analyze artwork and you're looking for signs and expressions of disease. You're looking for signs and expressions of mental illness. And you get so absorbed in looking for them that you can't pick up a pencil anymore without thinking, oh, is that this? Oh, is that this? Am I that? I kind of like medical students go through that in medical school. But I think with an artist, it's very deep. And I think that's what happened, that you lose free expression. It becomes calculated. It becomes something it wasn't before art therapy.
Wow. And what was it about getting cancer, having to go through that experience and finding this art class that allowed you to sort of overcome that? I guess it's a little bit of just self-consciousness that you just described.
Another excellent question on your part. You're really good at this. You're a good listener, Tony. uh, I went to the first meeting with a big chip on my shoulder. Big, huge chip. And you wouldn't think I would. You'd think I'd be running in there. But we can't, as St. Paul tells us, we can't explain our feelings. We can't explain our actions. Sometimes we do the opposite of what we intend. So I walk in there and I look it over. They're doing something with crafts that day because the watercolorist is away. And I say, no, 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 no. No, I didn't come here for this. So I sit there glumly and then I just sort of pick up something. I make something. Okay. Well, she'll be back next week. Come back, come back. Okay. So I go the next week. And I just think, I need a perfect situation. I can't do it. I need this. I need that. I don't know what I was looking for. But there was an atmosphere in that room. Gilda's Club, I recommend highly to anyone undergoing cancer treatment before, during, after, and their families. Because there's an atmosphere throughout the program of such encouragement, such warmth, such understanding, patience, that they just let me sit there. They said, you can bring in a sketchbook. You don't have to do anything. Just stay with us. Come and be with us. And lo and behold, the third time I went, I said to myself, Sheila, you're not leaving here without a painting. You are not doing this again. Later, the woman in charge, she came, we had a conversation, and she said, it meant so much to me when you picked up a brush. So that was another gift. I mean, gifts are everywhere.
That's beautiful. And you mentioned St. Paul and that gifts are everywhere. So I guess one other thought I had is I know that you also have some thoughts on, what the Bible really teaches us and some of its storytelling about the importance of gifts. Do you want to share a little on that?
Well, in my sequel to The Gift Counselor, which is Best of All Gifts, I have her mentor give her a talk one day about gift giving and how it's hard to find true gifts. Most gifts are manipulative. But he refers to Cain and Abel and the first gift givers of human beings. God was always giving gifts. And so, what is the story between Cain and Abel? So, it's about their gifts. Their gifts are offered to God. Abel made sure he gave God his best. There was no question. Cain was more of the conniver. Well, I don't have to give him everything. I don't want to hold a little bit back for me. I mean, this is pretty special stuff. And you have to look at those role models for gift giving for yourself. Gift giving is giving part of yourself. I think the magic of a good gift is somewhere in it. It says, I care about you. I care about you. Now, here's a funny little thing. What do I give as gifts? Well, I try to spend time on gifts, but one thing that I discovered that gives everyone pleasure when I hand it to them, a $2 bill. People love them. I have members of my family, they have a drawer full of them because I've been giving them out every Christmas. It's something like that. You just look around you and you can find a gift that gives you pleasure, it's going to give someone else pleasure. But I bottom line believe that gifts are unconditional. You study God. How does he give a gift? It's unconditional. It's free. He doesn't take it back. He's not trying to outdo somebody else. He's giving you his best. That's a way to look at it. Look to God.
Wow. So let me ask this. If people want to give a gift of your book and find out where they can get copies of it and its sequel, along with perhaps, I don't know if you have your stories available outside of the journal they were in, how can people get a hold of some of your stories?
Well, the books are both available in paperback and digitally on Amazon and most online bookstores. It's on Kobo in Canada. It's in the United States on Amazon, all the other bookstores. It's not in the bookstore itself, unfortunately. I do recommend the paperback. It makes a nice gift and it's just easier to read, I think, than digitally, but everybody has their preference. You can also go to my website. I keep it up to date. I list things that have been published in stories. I have the links there. That's www.giftcounselorbook.com. So I would appreciate anybody. They'll come across a picture of James Michener. I had the incredible privilege of being on board escort to James Michener and his wife for a week in Alaska while I worked for a cruise line. And if you ever want to hear more about that, I'd be willing to come back. That was an outstanding gift in my life.
That is beautiful. Yeah, maybe we'll have to have you back to talk about that sometime. No, this is great. Just this, you've given us a lot of different perspectives on gifts, and I know I'm thinking about some gifts I need to be buying now, and I
Oh,
appreciate
I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it.
appreciate your insights on that today. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure. And I think my final words would be have fun. Have fun when you're gift giving. Have fun with it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for the show today.
Okay.
We've been speaking with Sheila Cronin about the giving of gifts and how it can lead to healing in our lives and relationships. Again, this is Antony Barone Kolenc. If you want to find out more about me and my writing, come to my website, antonykolenc.com, and there's links to everything that you would want there. But until next time, may God bless us as we rely on our faith to work through the messy challenges of our lives.